What's up, everybody? Shawn here, back with another live Live to Roll. We're going to be talking about some driving today. So, if you guys have any questions or any comments you want to share, please drop them in the comment section, and we'd love to hear from you. Tom should be also joining us in a little bit. He just had a therapy earlier, so I think he should be coming after his PT or his therapy stuff. So, I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident 20 years ago. Bobby, go ahead, and then we'll let Robert close.
Yeah, no problem. Age, or no, beauty before age. Let's put it that way. I'm Bobby Rohan, C5, C6 quadriplegic, 35 years ago. Everybody knows, but it's always great when Robert can switch over from a Thursday to a Tuesday. So welcome in, Robert.
Thank you very much for having me. How are you doing, everybody? My name's Robert. I'm a T12 spinal cord injury from a motorcycle racing accident a little over 50 years ago, and glad to be on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for filling in and joining us because we want to hear about your driving journey too. You kind of had to change your vehicle like because of aging and just
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
wearing down a little bit on being able to transfer into the truck and stuff. So we'll get into kind of what vehicle is best for people and stuff as well.
And actually, we just hit the perfect topic for Jay. That it's the perfect timing
Yeah,
because I got in from driving assessment after 2 years of waiting. Yeah, it's sweet, Jay. I'm
right on,
so happy for
right on.
you. And once you get those wheels and that wheel behind you, it is awesome.
Independence.
Yeah, I know that's awesome.
Independence, independence with a bitch of a hassle, meaning all you pay your gas, you pay your insurance, you pay your maintenance.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, it's all the other fun stuff, but it is nice to have independence.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, the freedom to be able to go when you want to go, where you want to go. It's definitely nice. And I mean, even without driving, you can set that stuff up. You just have to be very, proactive with planning and getting things done. But it does make it a lot easier for, the impromptu, the spontaneous. Let's get out and go somewhere if you got your own car and vehicle you can drive. So yeah, let's get me and Bobby. Well, actually, all three of us now drive handicap accessible vans, like ramp vans. So they have the ramp so we can actually roll into the van, transfer into the vehicle. And for a lot of people, that's just a lot easier. That just, for me, I can't really transfer to a regular vehicle. Doing the gap, breaking down my chair, I wouldn't be able to get the chair back in the van or anything like that. Um, so really, the van was my main option for daily, regular driving. Um, but Robert, for you, you drove a truck for most of your early injury, right? Or
Yeah.
what did you drive early on? Always a truck, or
Well, when I first got out of the hospital, when I got hurt, I had a van, the full size vans back in the 70s, and it was my vehicle, because everyone used to fix them up and do all kinds of stuff in them. But I also used mine to race my motorcycles. I'd have it space in the back and all that. So I had the van. And once I got hurt, like a lot of people do, they kind of panic, and so we sold it because I'm not going to be able to this and that. We didn't know what was going on, but we ended up selling it. So when I got out, I ended up getting another one, the same type of van, only it was a four-wheel drive, lifted, and all that kind of stuff.
oh, nice.
And yeah, I used to get in through the side door because they had the swing doors, and the van was probably about a foot higher than my wheelchair, but I can get in it. It was easy. I would transfer up to it, and get myself set, and then pull the wheelchair in, roll it to the side there, and just kind of wedge it in there. Scoot my butt over to the captain's seats that these vans had. It was a swivel, and climb into the seat. And since I was also ambulatory with crutches and all that stuff, when I didn't use the wheelchair, I'd get into the front driver door, but I had a handle up at the top, pull myself up, and so it was back in those days. It was easy. And then so I think mid '80s is when I started. I got a car. I kept the van, but got a car, and started needing a chair to fold because my chair was a. I ended up with a rigid quadra chair back in the day. And it's funny because the van was a quadra van, so I had a quadra chair and a quadra van. But anyway, so I got into cars and I needed a folding chair because the chair, they wouldn't fold up, the backs wouldn't go down or anything. So I got a folding chair, and kept cars all the way through, but always had a truck. And as years went on, I got rid of the cars and just kept the truck. So in 2015, I got was supposed to be my last vehicle, a full size truck, and I lowered it to make it easier for me to get in and out. And eventually, over the years, that got a little more difficult. Shoulders, just fear of falling. My balance wasn't some days I'd be okay, and some days I wouldn't be that stable. I'd have to hold on at the same time, fold the chair and pull it into the back of the truck behind the seat. So it was just getting worse for me, and psyching myself out wasn't good, because that's what's going to create a problem if you're a little too cautious with what you do. So last summer, I finally, after 50 years of avoiding stuff in terms of ramps and all that stuff, I broke down and got a minivan. I got a Honda Odyssey, and I tell you, man, it's made my life so much easier. Before I used to be how many transfers I'm going to do a day, and that depended on what I was going to do. So I calculated my transfers with what I needed to do that day. So now it's no big deal. I I'm a little lousy on my transfers nowadays, from the wheelchair to seats and stuff, but I figured out, things that works, my transfer that works for me in the van. So it's not difficult at all. So it all worked out, and talking about making my life so much easier as I get, in these golden years. And it was a big deal. And I tell you, if you're on the fence about what you need to do, and you got to let go of I'm never going to drive a minivan. I want nice cars. I want nice trucks. You know what? I was always that form over function, and I should have been function over form, because it is something I catch myself saying this all the time. I should have done this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And that's what I'm saying with this van. So,
And you got the heavens above coming down on
That's
you, going,
yeah,
oh,
I know. I saw that coming. I go, hey, what's going on?
it looks cool. That's what I, but yeah, man, no, that's what I was gonna say. Some of the other benefits for the minivan are like weather, the heat or the rain. You get out of the elements, and you can, like, for me, one of the first things I put on my van, because they didn't come very standard back then, was remote start. So I got a remote start put on my van, because in the summertime I would like die by the time I got to start the vehicle, get the van started up there. But like for me, that's one of the other conveniences. I feel like it doesn't look cool. You aren't the coolest person on the road. It's fine, but there's a lot of function out of it. Like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
just there's a lot of benefits to having the van.
yeah.
I
Well, you're not in the rain breaking your chair apart, and everything getting wet. I mean, you wheel into the van and
it's
you're out of the elements. I mean, that is one of the best things, and I'm not worried about slipping or anything. So, yeah, no, they definitely are worth. Well, the thing is to afford them is because they're so expensive. But they're you don't have a choice sometimes. You have to figure out ways to make it, whether it's used or new or whatever. But a van for me, I, it makes my life easy, a lot easier.
yeah.
yeah, most definitely. And the way in this day and age, actually, minivans are not
Well,
considered that driving your
yeah,
mom's vehicle. Like
yeah,
when
yeah,
I was in my 20s, when I got my first van at, I don't know, 21, 22, it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe, and I picked the color that didn't make it look like, it didn't have the wood paneling on the side
yeah,
like the old caravans had. It was, and even the name sounded cool. I picked out a Black Cherry.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so, okay, the name looks cool. Took it to an auto shop. And one thing to drive, my mom's just like, you're gonna have to cell phone. And trust me, back in 93,
uh,
94,
yeah.
yeah, cell phones were expensive. So it was
Yeah.
emergency only, which was fine. It was cool, impress the girls, that's for sure. Um, and then another thing I did was got cool rims and tires. Got to do
Yeah.
that when you drive a
Yep.
minivan back in the 90s. And still to this day, I think, but when I've gone latest to going to see some of the new vans, and I'm just going to shout out some good people at Aero Mobility. Awesome. Talk to David. Tell him Live to Roll sent you. He'll hook you up. Say, Bobby Rohan from Disabled Dealer. That's how he knows me. But he'll hook you up. And but I noticed a little plug. Sorry, Shawn.
No, it's fine.
Um,
Because last time I went in there, because I had never been there either, I took my van and I was having issues with my ramp. He took it back and fixed it for me for free. He's like, no, no charge. Don't worry about it. It's
Plus,
like,
he at Billy's Expo, we had about what 12, 15 people at our table, and Aero Mobility paid for
so
our
yeah,
bill.
they did kind of technically sponsor a little bit of Live to Roll there, so we'll give them the plug.
Yeah,
Right
so we're
on.
gonna.
Right on.
But I noticed that a lot of these new vans have some nice rims and tires, and I was like, all right, I kind of like that. And but back in the day, I put on the thin tires and cool rims. Beefed up the muffler, which neighborhood was not happy about. But all the things back in then, and now it's just standard. Everybody has that. So
Well, you know what's so nice, because just like what Jeremy says here, there's a company ATC that does the trucks, and where the whole side comes out and you roll
That
your.
is cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much technology that's really cool out there, and so that's, we're talking minivans, but there's also the trucks, and then with the pickup, it has the lift in the back of the bed where it swings around to, you know, pick
That's
up
what
your chair.
if I could ever afford it, I'm always will keep a daily driving minivan, but I would love to have um like a mid '60s Chevy pickup truck,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that lift in the back for like kind of like a weekend. Like I've always
yeah,
loved hot
exactly.
rods, muscle cars.
Yep.
So like if I could
Just
have
as
some sort, if that could be my connection to having like a muscle car, like a muscle truck with a swing lift, I I,
yeah.
I would love to do that. But yeah, for daily driving, I was curious: is the ATC conversion, is that the one that fully has the lift you pull on, lifts you up to the level, or is that just
Well, no, that's
the
where the
Gold
whole.
Wing?
Well, I know the ATC when I was looking and stuff, but I saw that's where the whole side of the truck comes out,
That's what I
and
thought.
it's
Yeah,
got, yeah, yeah. I mean, they're pretty nice, and
so
I don't
Shawn,
know what Jeremy has though.
I did do the whole truck scene, but not as cool as what you were going to. I love to have and you said the right word, Chevy. And I would love to have some type of late 50s, early 60s of a Chevy truck. But I did a Dodge Dakota 4x4, and all that puppy had was one of these Bruno lifts seats that were on the side, and I transferred onto and I had. You have to remember, I always transferred to my left side, and the way I get in my minivan, the way I get in my bed. I don't know about you,
Yeah,
Shawn, but when you're
it's your
going
strong
the
side.
same direction all your life, and then next thing you know, I got a truck and I'm now going to the right, and
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm like, this is harder than shit. And so that little seat would lift me up. My 6'2" legs would dangle, and luckily I had a little chest strap, and it was a lot of work, but it was my weekend warrior. Took it down to Mexico a lot. We jumped out of some canyons a couple times, and every time it was like, thank God we did not roll it, because when we landed, my hands and everything would leave that steering wheel, and it was just like, and I just always ask my best friend, grab the wheel before we roll, and
That's
eventually I
funny.
just like, this is dangerous. It actually wasn't even dangerous. It was too hard to transfer day in and day out. So I finally just came to my senses and said, I just don't drive this enough to warrant to have a truck and another insurance payment. Hey, Tom.
Tom.
Hey,
Hey, Tom.
everybody.
Ooh. So we're just talking
Well,
about different vehicles we are all have driven or had, or and kind of like what works best for certain reasons and stuff. But yeah, what's up, man? How do you have any driving and any questions or anything you want to comment in here? While
never driven any vehicle, so
Have you
there's that.
have you done like driver training of any sort, Tom?
I got into a quadriplegic's car like van that this was back in like Shriners rehab back when I was like a teenager. I've done like the tests to like get approved for drivers training, um, but I never followed through with it. Why? I don't know. One, driving's scary. It's like intense. I've been in a lot of cars, a lot of people, and I've been in a handful of accidents, and can tell you, it's pretty scary. And
And
Leah said it like, I really love having someone drive me around because I can chill on my phone, I can read, I can play a game, I can, just like chill. And so I have become a master of transportation services, at least around Southern California. And that's kind of like my main mode. And I wouldn't say that like I'm hindered really in any significant way, especially nowadays, like Uber and stuff like that. That's like a lot more available to someone with a chair. So I can talk about that, like talk about different ways I get around transportation and stuff. But I don't want to get away from the driving. I think it's awesome if you do get back on the road and behind the wheel. It was just kind of a personal choice that I decided wasn't for me. Mostly out of fear of like getting into an accident, or like my worst fear is my disability being the cause for an accident that somebody else is involved in or something too. Um,
and you
so
are out of the four of us here, you're the only one that didn't drive before his accident, and I think that has probably a little to do with it when you didn't have your own control of a vehicle. So that could be a part of it. And I remember a good. Well, it's not. I remember. I know for a fact that Tom Hollenstein went through the whole thing back in the late '80s, driving, and I think it was on his first or second day. Um, Crashed his van into a bunch of parked cars and said, "All right, I'm done. No more."
Yeah.
He's like too nervous, don't like it, and so that's how he went. But and it's we're blessed that we live in this area of Los Angeles that transportation is almost second to none, besides maybe New York or something like that. But
Yeah.
even that's not the greatest place, just only because it's so um, if you are in the downtown area, um, it's not very great to drive around, and then parking is a bitch compared to. It's not great here, but it's way better than there.
Yeah.
I know that you guys transfer like when you drive. I don't know about you, Robert. Do you? I'm assuming you transfer when you drive, like you
Yeah,
transfer to
yeah,
the seat.
yeah.
If I did drive, I would likely drive from my chair. But one thing that I don't use is a headrest. I known some quads that drive without a headrest too. And
That's scary.
I think it's one of the craziest, scariest things because if you get rear-ended or if you rear-end someone else, you're gonna snap your neck hard. And I mean, our neck's already fucked up as it is. So, like
Well,
that's been kind of scary to me. And like, I don't know that I could hack like having a headrest on all the time or putting it on and off between like the times that I would drive, which that's a little thing, but it's something that I've thought about.
and we have Jeremy. If you could let us know about Jeremy drives from his manual chair out of his truck, so it
That's
wouldn't
scary
be.
to me.
Yeah, so that does sound scary. Let us know about that. Chair life. Let us know. I don't think. I believe you probably drive from your chair, Chad. If you can let us know about that. So, yeah, because that would scare me as well without a headrest.
Yeah,
But I
sure.
also one time I asked about that, and this is a long time ago. They said there's ways to place a headrest that can come out like an arm and go
Yeah,
right behind you. So
Huh.
I don't know if that's, I've never seen it, but a person who helped me do my truck told me about it
yeah.
when he had his own company.
Yeah, I think there was a guy at one of the St. Jude meetings that we went to, and he was high level quad, but he had state of the art jet. His inside of this van looked like a jet, but I mean, and he had something that came out like that because he drove from his chair. But Chair Life says he's one of those guys that doesn't have the headrest. It looks like.
Yeah, and drives from his, I think, manual chair too.
Yeah.
Most.
And I'm not judging anybody. Like, you got to do what you got to do. Like, I am not saying that anybody, like, if that's your situation, like, more power to you. It's just something that I thought about, something that I'm like just affected my decision on whether or not I wanted to get behind a wheel. Um, and I will just like briefly mention like how I do it. I roll long distances sometimes. I take the bus almost every day, different places, especially like short, quick trips, like within the valley and like like locally around me. There's a awesome paratransit service here in Southern California called Access, which I can call and arrange 24 hours ahead of time for like next day trips that will take me anywhere in Los Angeles and surrounding areas. And then more recently, Uber and baby. Uber's all the time. Uber's everywhere. For more spontaneous trips. Sometimes like I'll just be running late and like I want time to take the bus, then I got to get to an appointment, so I'll just Uber it. Or if it's raining, or if it's super hot out, or if I want to go with someone, if I want to go somewhere with some friends, like I can ride with up to like 3 people in an Uber, and we can all meet at my apartment, and we can split it, and it's super cheap and affordable, and it's a nice like luxury ride. There's been a law that was passed in the last couple of years, mandating that transportation services like Uber and Lyft have a meaningful, legitimate wheelchair accessible option. And the way that they've met that requirement is by hiring a fleet of vehicles to service our community and population. So at first, and sometimes they are still like not super available, um, meaning like I might have to wait like 20 or 30 minutes for a ride, but most of the time it's like 5 or 10 minutes like a regular Uber, and it's super awesome. And just to like give some comparison too, like I looked at my Uber bill like at the end of the month in comparison to like my friend who's like leasing a car and drives around, like is a cheaper option
Mhm.
for getting around. And I'd say that I got around probably as much as he did during that month. It was like most of the time going to the bar to meet up or something, and he would drive and I would Uber. And so I think it can be very equitable to like the cost of a vehicle if you factor in gas and maintenance and insurance and car payments and everything. Um, I save a lot of money doing these other options, and I'm also not really limited in any way. The way I was limited before was kind of spontaneous trips, like if something came up and I wanted to go somewhere. But now, if I do, like, and I don't have an access or it's not easily accessible by the bus, then I'll just Uber it.
Yeah,
One question, Tom, and Chair Life kind of said it. Cabs super expensive where he lives because they don't. One, they don't have Uber accessible Uber where he lives. But you
see
ever
that's
take cabs? And for some reason lately, I don't. The last 5 months, I've been seeing so many accessible cabs in my area that it's crazy. And every time I look at Uber and Lyft on my app, my apps, uh, I can. They're always saying not
Yeah.
available in Orange County,
Yeah.
not available
Exactly.
in Orange
Yeah.
County. So,
Same here when I've looked at it from out here.
yeah. But have you ever tried taxi, and what's the comparison?
Well, I used to do taxi almost exclusively, and taxi was a nightmare. It was I would like request, like call the dispatcher and request a taxi, and they could choose whether or not they wanted to do a trip. And they most of the wheelchair taxis did regular rides most of the time, and I would call and request a taxi to come pick me up, and they'd have to drive 20 miles out of their way to come and get me, and they would just refuse it. So it was really not available. And the times that I was able to schedule it and get it, it was crazy, crazy expensive. Um, I know that the rules surrounding the Uber, at least like the fleet of vehicles, it's larger metropolitan areas. I don't know the exact uh, guideline. We were able to do it in Chicago, me and Shawn, when we were there visiting. So I know that it is available in like certain cities, like Texas. They have them, and
I was gonna say in
different.
Houston, that was the first time I think we had, or the first time I had used one when the cab didn't show up to take us to the airport, and we were like panicking trying to get there. Went on the
Yeah,
Uber app, and boom, 10 minutes later, we had an accessible van that picked us up and
and it
took us
was
to the
cheaper,
airport.
and it ended up
And
being
it
like
was
way
way
cheaper
cheaper
than a freaking
than
cab.
the cab. They called us to pick up for the cab ride, and I told them we had a flight, the time of the flight, scheduled it like well over 24 hours before, it was like 48 hours before, and they called us like 12 hours after the pickup to pick us up. Like, yeah, we're here for.
Yeah.
Like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm in fucking LA. We
And,
flew home.
and Andrew said it too in the chat. Like I've done that before, where I've requested an accessible taxi, and then they'll send a regular vehicle, and
Yeah.
they'll show up, and they'll be like, "Oh, we thought you had like a fold-in wheelchair, or like a manual chair or something." And it's like, bro, that's not what I had, and not what I specified either. Um, So I would say continue to give it a go, and maybe even just check if you like feel inclined, especially in Orange County. Like I feel like they definitely should. It's a large enough, like
I know.
metropolitan area. But the reason I say check is I know the last time you did, the when I talked to the guys that pick me up a lot, the people that drive the Uber, like wheelchair Ubers, and they said that they're always adding more vehicles. They're always increasing service in more areas. They told me that they recently increased service in San Fernando Valley, which is part of like LA, but they would sometimes have to send like an Uber from downtown to come and pick me up in the valley, and it would be like a long wait. But now the areas are much better serviced. Um, so I don't know. I think it's worth maybe checking if that's something you guys are interested in. But I rely on it more, and it's something that I'm a little bit more vested in. Whereas y'all got your vehicles, so it makes sense that it's not as big a deal, like to do it.
But
Um, Jeremy just put up that, and we did see it, Jeremy, that is commented about that he does have a headrest that does come up and swings in behind his head, and so he does have neck support, which is pretty awesome. So, and I think Chad said the same thing. So, but Robert, you got to get on that. Make sure you have some head support when you're driving.
well, Robert, you
And
drive from
Oh, yeah.
you transfer, right? Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
what for
I
me. I feel a
transfer.
lot safer from.
sorry, not you, Robert, but the other
Oh,
Robert
Oh, the other.
mentioned that
Yeah, that's
he
right.
doesn't have a headrest
oh, okay.
And
behind his head. So,
Ron in the chat asked if VR paid for my van accommodations. I don't know if what VR is.
Vocational rehab.
Oh, vocational rehab, I guess.
Yeah.
No, no, they did not. But vocational rehab, Department of Rehab here in California paid for my first set of emotion wheels when I was going to school. But no, no van. I bought the van. Originally, I bought a used van that was accessible, and a few months after that, I got into an accident, which wasn't my fault, but was scary. But it totaled the van, and that was when Esurance was a new company, and they actually paid me $10,000 more than I paid for the van in my like in the payout. So I was able to buy a brand new minivan. But that was almost 20 years ago, and my van's like falling apart now. So
I can attest to that. No shade to the van. It's certainly done as well, but man, oh man, it's gone a little shabby.
Yeah, but it served its purpose, right?
it's
Served
got
its purpose.
175,000 miles on
Yeah,
it.
dude.
I've driven
It
it.
served its purpose.
It has getting some life.
My mom has like 280,000 miles on her car. It's something crazy. When I heard the number, I was like, I didn't even know you could drive that much. Um,
wow.
the
Yeah, right now, Tom, it's telling me no Uber, no accessible vans, in your area. So that's so I think it's from time to time, maybe.
That is a bummer.
Yeah.
Uh, and
And Orange County is the next big thing next to LA, but I'm sure a lot of people in different areas don't have. Even Chad said, and he lives in Houston, uh, that there's
San
no,
Antonio, yeah,
or San Antonio, which is pretty big
yeah.
itself, doesn't have it. So yeah, it sucks. But the greatest thing is when you're think. I'll say this thought real quick for you, Tom, compared to us, it is nice to be that power chair user when it comes to getting to buses and accessible transportation. That is a great thing. Where, for Shawn and myself, especially, to get to my bus stop going another direction, I'd have to go all the way down to another street, cross the street, and all the way back. And that's a bummer.
hang
But
on
I
one
have
second.
noticed over time with my scooter, I'm starting to use it a lot more around my city. So I don't have to get in my van and transfer. It's just like, oh, this is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
I just put my
yeah,
scooter down and that attaches to my chair and I'm just like, and
yeah,
it goes 15 miles an hour. I like it and put my helmet on. And luckily the freeway I have to go over, right down the street, there's a personal walkway that I don't even have to worry about traffic or anything. So it's
yeah,
pretty nice. And I go to CVS and I can go to the store, Smart and Final, or I can go to my local park. There's other things I've been starting to get to with my scooter, and I love it. So that's the great thing about that. But one thing I wanted to say is, and what we talked about earlier, is the different options of driving nowadays. We talked about minivan, full size, which I would love to go back to a full size, like
I would
the
like.
old, like, and Robert, you would know what I mean. Back when they had plush chairs
yeah. Oh
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
cup holders, and it was the bed
Plenty
folds
of
out.
room.
Everything. I mean,
Yeah, plenty of room in those things. Yeah,
and
go
nowadays,
camping in them.
and nowadays it's those big Sprinter vans,
Yeah, yeah.
which I heard are easy to drive. So you got the Sprinter van, but I'd love to go to that old style.
But what?
Uh,
Yeah, but because what the thing too is because with the Sprinter vans and the Ram and the Ford and all that, the Transits and all that stuff, they're big vehicles for your daily driver around town. You know.
And the only other thing that about that too, because we actually had kind of looked into Sprinter vans just to see if like an option, because it would be great to have a van to also be able to like go on little camping like overnight things we
Yeah,
were trying
yeah,
to
right.
yeah,
do.
Yeah.
But the one thing about those is they don't have power doors. So if you're like me by myself,
yeah,
I did try. We were gonna maybe try to put a strap on the handle that I could like yank and like open to get to the remote for the lift and stuff. But it would be a super pain in the ass, and it was hard.
yeah,
I actually broke part of my thumbnail off trying to open the damn door at the dealership.
yeah.
But like so
So
that's
we'd have
another
to.
thing about that. The minivans have the full
Yeah,
auto open
yeah,
door, auto
And
ramp comes out. You
Sean,
just push the button.
they put that for you. So when you go get your lift, they put the automatic doors for you.
Yeah, it's like a $10,000 option.
Yeah, true. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
So
always cost. Yeah, of course there's
it is
cost,
available, but those
but
Sprinter
you pay
vans are about
for it.
$100,000 without
yeah,
that.
yeah. Exactly,
So
But
you got
you
to
exactly.
are
put them
paying
there.
for those electric doors in your minivan when you see the bill at the end of the
You
day.
do pay for
You
it.
know,
You're right. Yeah.
but it's not like they can't do it. They can do it. I mean, just like anything, like with a truck, like Jeremy, um, they can make anything accessible these days. It's just a little bit of
Yeah,
cash.
yeah, yeah.
You
How much you want to pay?
Yeah, that's the thing is the money. Yeah. But
and with
And that.
it, now people are driving where it's stick shift only, and they're able to do the hand controls, which
Yeah,
are
yeah,
amazing. We haven't even gotten into hand controls options because there's so many out there for any type of driver.
yeah,
And then people are even driving motorcycles these days. Luis from our other show, he drives a Harley, but I think he doesn't need any modification. But a lot of
yeah,
people have a lot of modification to motorcycles these days, and
yeah,
kickstands that come down when you're going to a stop, and then as soon as you start going, They flip up and
Yeah,
out of your
yeah, that's
way.
pretty.
It's just
Technology,
amazing.
man. Technology's
That's
come a
a
long
that's a
way.
wild thing. That's a wild thing if you're disabled and deciding to hop on a modified motorcycle.
Yeah.
But I mean, more power to you, I guess.
Uh,
That's a,
Uh,
Aaron Baker, who's someone local, he's a very incomplete quad. He can walk, and does like some, he's actually pretty famous if you look up Aaron Baker. He's been on TV a bunch and stuff.
He's
Um, but
he's doing that
but he has a
isn't he doing
trike.
some? Yeah, but isn't he doing something where he's I
he's
forget where
riding,
his
riding
uh,
across America.
yeah. I
Yeah,
met him over at Casa Colina.
yeah, he's a nice guy. He actually is really cool. Him and his mom, super sweet people. Look him up. I've seen him on a couple talk shows since he like had a book that came out. But
Yeah.
but
can I touch on a couple things?
Hold on, Sean. What were you going to say about him? About his car?
He has a trike. I was just gonna say is another option that he does. Like that is, and he's a quad with some hand function impairment. So he's just adapted everything to. I was just saying he like it's a highly adapted trike that he uses.
Yeah.
So, but
Hmm.
sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, you're good. I just wanted to touch on the Voc Rehab thing. At least
Yeah, that's
here in,
important.
here in California, it's called the DOR, Department of Rehabilitation. Most states, I think, have a vocational rehabilitation program, which is meant to help get you back to work by way of supporting you during your vocational training, whether that's more like traditional, like education, trade school, whatever that might be for whatever the vocation is that you're aspiring towards. One of the things that they really do awesome is making that vocational training accessible for you, whatever that means. So, if it means getting from your home to that schooling or training or whatever it is, or to work, and there's not a reasonable public transportation option, and you're able to, they'll actually help with you with the vehicle. Not just with the vehicle, but with the modifications for a vehicle, which is really like the kicker. I've known several individuals with disabilities that have gone through Department of Rehab here in California and gotten like a fully modified van through them, to no at no cost to them. So DOR is awesome. They help pay for all my education and all my books and almost everything that went along with my schooling, except for like my living expenses. Um, but helped me out in just a lot of other ways that facilitated my success in my education. So I just really encourage anybody who hasn't signed up for that, that might be looking towards getting back to education or work or something, to seriously consider signing up for it, and definitely take advantage of whatever perks, if you can get a car out of it or computer or, all of the above. Definitely go for it. Like Shawn said, they got him emotion wheels, which are power assist wheels, which, made it, I'm assuming, easier for Shawn to get around and get where he needed to go. But that is like the cool thing about it. I mean, I would make an argument that no vehicle is accessible, because $30,000 or $40,000 in modifications on top of a new vehicle cost is not fair, and it's not accessible, and it's not equality in any way, shape, or form. Like, if you're lucky enough to get it through like a program like Voc Rehab, or if you're just wealthy and like can afford it, like that's great. But I think it's I think it's discriminatory that that's like what bars access to an accessible vehicle for most people is the $40,000 it costs to modify it.
Yeah.
It's just a
And
freaking joke.
I know the first year when you do buy a new vehicle that has the conversion, that $40,000 is all right off as medical. So
Yeah.
that's one of the advantages if you look at it that way. So for your taxes, you're just going to pay for all that money that you paid for that conversion portion, and the dealers split that out. They itemize it out, and that whole anything you put for your transfer seat, the conversion, all that, the 45 grand or whatever it is all right off as medical.
It
Just
should be.
just
It's something that
it
Ford
is.
or Chevy or Toyota or whatever the car company does. And if you have a disability and you're buying a car and you need an accessible option, and that's what you sign up for, it should be the same cost as all the other vehicles, but they should modify it. They should provide the modifications. Like,
Yeah, but
bottom
you're
line,
still going to pay for it. You're still going to pay for it,
Ju-
right? I mean,
Just
you're
like
saying,
if you buy a
no, but
car
it would
and
just be like
you
buying a
want the
regular
nicer
car.
leather, but
yeah,
it's just like when we buy a car and you want nicer leather than the plush seating or the corduroy seating, whatever it is. You still have to pay the up
But we're
charge.
not asking for a nicer feature. We're just asking for an accessible, functional vehicle.
But we have to remember though, everybody is different. So Robert's minivan is going to be probably $25,000 cheaper than my minivan. That I need accessible braking, accessible steering.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's what I got used to, and I try to do it like everybody else who's a quad that's like me that can push their chair. I just can't. I couldn't do it. I just could not do
yeah,
the left turn. So that's the problem with yeah, they can do the basics, but and that's nice and everything, but yeah, it's just not going to fly through a car company.
I know I'm a pretty
yeah,
disgusting socialist, but I think it should, and I think they should like hold like be the ones that like incur the cost. Honestly, like I don't know the amount of money they make hand over fist manufacturing vehicles the way that they do. The least that they could do is provide base price vehicles that are modified to make whoever the driver is, you know, accessible and drivable. But um, that's
I,
certainly not the reality we live in.
and I just kind of want to go back. Jeremy said it that, and which is awesome. And let us know, Jeremy. Vocat Rehab said put in 30,000 for his towards his truck. He needed to go get a job. What I have heard is that, and Chad, yes, I do have zero tolerance steering and braking. It just like I said, got used to it at a young age, and I can't get away from it.
I have
Um,
the 50% steering and no braking assistance.
oof.
Just the regular.
But one thing about Vogue is um, they don't just go, "Oh, you're going to go get a job? Yeah, we're going to pay for that." No, you get denied. You probably get denied. And I know here in Southern California, through a couple friends, they said they were denied so many times, and they just kept at it and kept at it. You just really have to be um, on it and go through all the steps to get something like that paid. It's just not that easy to say, "Oh my God, that's a good way to go get a car," because we would all do it. And then, oh, so I work a few months, but I'm sure it's way more than that. According to the people that I know have gone through it, it took years, and
yeah.
it's just not easy. And then Ron asks, "Is your insurance higher than able-bodied person?" No, it wasn't any higher for me, but I
What's that?
insured my accessible stuff for my van, meaning the conversion part of that it caused. So in case I was in an accident, I'm 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 being insured for what my van is cost, not just
Yeah,
for a simple minivan. And you don't have to do it. He's like, you don't have to do it. But if you're in an accident, we're just going to insure the van, not the conversion, because that was something added after the fact. It's just like somebody beefs up their vehicle, like those kids that trick out their car. That part, those aren't insured unless they ask for it to be insured.
This
yeah,
isn't tricking out a car; it's making it functional.
I know, I know.
But just so you guys know, my buddy Frenchie one time showed me in Japan, they highly modify minivans with crazy spoiler wings. Like, I'm talking looking like spaceships. So look that
yeah.
up if you want to get some crazy. I want to see one driving around here. It'd be awesome.
Well, I think it's out here in the U.S. They have it's called van culture, culture with a K. So you can
That's
look that up, and you'll see all these guys that are lowering them, have the wings on them or whatever, the wheels, and I mean just so hey, it's whatever it is. But in terms of the conversions on the vans and stuff like that, it's yeah. My big beef, like I go with Tom on that. I don't know if I have a solution for anything, but yeah, the costs are um, pretty high and all that. But the thing is there's always a lot of vans that are used out there that are still in great shape because a lot of them, there's some have a lot of miles on them. People just drive the shit out of them. But there's a lot of them out there that aren't used as often as like a regular vehicle. So you can
That's it.
get a pretty decent price.
I'm looking for one of those right now. Anybody in the
Yeah.
chat?
So
Yeah.
Shout
here's
out.
the key, Sean. Sean, I'm going to give you the key. Keep looking in auto traders and places like that. Once in a while, there's a family that had it for their their mother or their
Yeah.
father, and used it very little. And it's first they're asking for a lot because they see the sticker and they notice
Yeah.
nobody's buying it. And then once you come in here and say, "Oh, please, can you help me out?" You know, I've had a few friends that get a good deal that way. My neighbor was selling one, and she finally even came up to me because her husband was a vet, and they used it for just a short time. And she's like, "Can you buy my van, please?" I'm like, "Well, mine's not." I wish now they were offering it to me, but at the time, I was, uh, I'll see what if I have any friends, but no. And they're like, "We're just ready to give it away." And I'm like, "Do you want to
Yeah.
donate?" And she's like, "Not that kind of giveaway, but
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
below
Well, look. Well,
asking
look at
price."
Anthony. Anthony had somebody give him a full size van with the arm lift or whatever it is they call that. He got that. I mean, so it's out there. But the thing is yeah, they do have to the pricing. But you know what? It's like what we said earlier. It's the money. It's all about. I mean, it's a business. You know.
Yeah, and that we're not even talking like when we get into all that hand controls and sensitized
Yeah.
steering, let alone
Yeah.
the conversion, let alone for higher quads that need that whole like when if anybody knows back in the day the Scott system. That was a system where a quad would drive with a joystick on their arm, and so they would control the steering this way, the brake and the gas and the steering all in this arm. And over here was the biggest button system you can imagine, and it was blinkers, lights, horn, start engine, everything. But it's this big box over here, and I just
Wow.
can't even fathom how much those cost. Back in the day, or if you were going to do it right now.
Yeah, that's what. There are a lot of different options like that. JJ Mack in the chat says that they drive from the power chair and use a system called Space Drive. It's a joystick to steer, and another one for braking gas. So it's basically dual joysticks, I think. So there are a lot of different options. I think
Yeah.
me, Bobby, and Robert all use the same standard right angle MPS hand control, which I think is what it's called, just the
Push
standard
pull, which is
push
basically push
pull.
pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, so MPS is still around because I don't use a hand control right now, but when I first started, I had for the first year I had a hand control, and that was in '74 when we put MPS in there. And back in those, so I can't believe they're still around, man. That
Well,
was
I don't
like
know actually.
50
That's what
years.
mine is. I have no idea
Yeah,
honestly. My van's almost like I
yeah,
said, 2007. So
yeah,
it's quite a bit. Been around a while. So
And I've had the same hand control since the day one, which is the MPS and he
yeah.
modified a horseshoe that I just put my hand in into a horseshoe and just
oh,
forward for brake and down for gas.
Oh, cool,
so I
cool.
don't have a
Hey,
horseshoe. I use just a standard little bar, and I rest it on my palm right here and push down and then kind of into my palm for the brake. Like it's a dual. Yeah, I just use that. But I do use a tri pin for my steering wheel, which for anybody who doesn't know, the tri pin is basically three pins, one that goes through my hand that I hold, and then one on either side of my wrist to help
to
stabilize my.
stabilize, huh? Yeah,
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 And I use a spinner knob, but
yeah.
I have two of them because one is up here and one is down here. One's at 11, one's at 5. Because when I put the one at a certain angle, the hand control draw or the steering wheel was so sensitive, it would move. So I said, "What about if we put two and it counterbalanced the steering
yeah.
wheel?" And so when I'm driving, I don't drive with the spinner knob unless I turn, and then I use the spinner knob.
See, that again scared me and Bobby are very similar in function, but like the way he drives, it's like I never take my hand out of that tripod. I am not I'm not letting go of the wheel like for anything unless I'm stopped. Like I never really let go of the wheel. But my other hand, the gas and brake, it's all free. I'm like, rah, rah, like popping around, leaning on my elbow, using it for balance. Like, so you're like the opposite. Your
No,
hands
I
kind of
know.
free.
I sent Sean me driving one time. He's
And
like,
I will
I'm not
upload.
putting that. He's like, I'm not putting that up. That's scary.
It is a little scary, but I will upload it. Make sure I have a disclaimer in there.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah.
I've been a passenger in a lot of vans with a number of quadriplegic drivers, and this is no shade to anyone here on the video chat with us because you guys are on the list too. Every quadriplegic driver I've been with, I've at one point or at multiple points been scared shitless that something was going to happen and that we were going to get in a fucking accident and then this was going to be it. Every quad driver I've been with because is like while it can be done and I think it can be done safely, it's hard I think to make it safe all the time. Whether that's like blood pressure like affected
But
you to the point where you're
like a
like almost
big one.
passed out behind the wheel, or you gotta like make a quick turn, and like just by nature of the reaching and doing it like it's difficult and it's like you're not able to like meaningfully do it. um I I'm not saying this to discourage anybody, but um, be mindful and realistic of your situation and your disability and your level of function. Um, you know, that's just all I wanted to say. Just be
no,
mindful, think about it,
no,
be realistic.
you
When it
said
comes to
something.
it.
Yeah, Tom, you said something really important, that blood pressure. And Jeremy, Chad, and others who quad like Sean and I who have experienced the when the blood pressure starts dropping, the white clouds start going over your eyes, the tingling, and you have to breathe really hard. You're like, and
I've
Oh
I've
man.
had to
even
pull over.
dude, I
Not
did
a
that
joke.
yesterday, leaving the park after we did a walk. I got super low and like literally just I was like, I gotta pull over, babe. And I just like pulled over to the side of the road, put it in park, and was like, like, and because like my vision on that one had started to blacken a bit. Like I was like, I'm going out. Like I gotta, gotta stop.
Sean, Sean, I'm not throwing you under the bus, man. Like you've done that with me on the fucking freeway, bro. On the freeway, dog, where there's no place to pull over. I'm like, holy shit, let's just get off the goddamn freeway, please.
No, I advise to everybody out there, make sure you do. And another thing that I started doing, Leah bought me a nice binder that I keep in the van now. And sometimes when we're doing a drive, especially if I know I'm a little hungry already or low, or like was just working out, doing something, I will put that binder on tight. And it does help. I will still get low, but I won't get to where like I'm gonna black out and be like dangerously
And
what I consider dangerously.
so Chad just said it. This is what I do when my wife is in the car, and I'm you need to start wearing shorts all the time, Sean. But you don't have hardly any. You don't have hairy legs like I do. But I tell my wife, start pulling the hair out of my legs. Start pulling it.
Oh man.
That would start giving me a little bit of distro, and
Then I would
she's like,
spasm so
Snap
bad
you out of it.
that it would like send me careening into the side.
or Jeremy or Chad. Have you ever, or Sean, have you ever done this when you just start going like this?
I hit my stomach or
Yeah,
sometimes my leg. But yeah,
God
I'll
dang,
sometimes
man.
rub and hit my stomach or near my bladder and like try to get a little AD to like kick off and like get the blood pressure going back the other direction.
Mr. Sean's Wild Ride. I don't know if I want to drive with you guys.
no, you
Uh,
don't.
Gee.
I'm not gonna say that it isn't scary sometimes and it hasn't been, but for the most part, I do know like okay, this is getting bad. I should pull over. I should stop driving.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I will say that like Sean, like every time I've been in the car, like there have been a couple instances where I was like, "Oh, that's a little sketchy," but he's also like super mindful and like very considerate of me as a passenger and stuff. And like there were instances where you're like, "Bro, I gotta pull over and chill for a couple minutes," and hell yeah. And I mean, the other thing that we do is I won't talk about it live, but one thing that I like to do all the time is smoke a lot of weed. And I'll tell you what, I don't got to worry about driving. I can just hit my pen, smoke a fat J, get my Uber, get my access, and be cruising, baby. Don't have to worry about nothing. And I like it. I like it that way.
And
Um,
smoking, for anybody that doesn't use cannabis or things, like a lot of things, it relaxes your body, relaxes your blood vessels, and lowers your blood pressure. Like I
Big
get
time.
when I used to smoke a lot more, and like in the day and stuff, I would get really bad lows, which I still get even when I don't smoke. So like I don't now. I'm like,
You
damn
might
it!
as well
I
smoke then.
thought I thought it would balance it out, but it is a lot better. I don't get as many. I don't get them like crazy low. Like, but
Well,
still, when I eat, anytime I get low before I eat, and then I start eating, all the blood goes to my stomach, and I get even lower. I'm like, damn.
and that's something, sometimes we're about to go somewhere and my wife's like, you should eat something. I'm like, no, you don't want me to eat something right now because I know the point of return, meaning I didn't eat enough. And if I take something or I eat something, I just know it's gonna, as soon as we get on the road. So I'm like, no, let's bring something and I'll just like, can you help me just eat like an apple at the beginning? Like, and I,
Yeah.
one bite at a time, like every 5 minutes until something's starting to get in my stomach. So I do take caution of it about eating. Somebody just said it, Daryl. V8 juice helps with that low blood pressure. Yeah, and my doctor has given me medications for that, having the low blood pressure that I have on hand.
And one thing that scares me about taking that is I also, throughout the day, get AD spikes like almost every single day. So it scares me to take something that will raise my blood pressure when I know it's going to spike throughout the day and like
No,
go high. So like that's my one fear with taking the blood pressure stuff. So I've tried using the binder now. But oh, and Jay says spasms while driving scare him.
Yeah. You guys
That
spasm. I mean, you guys are spasms. Does it ever bother you with your driving?
So
left.
my legs, I kind of almost pin and wedge under
Uh huh.
like there. But what was really weird, so I've talked about getting the Botox injections and like how they really affected me negatively and like weakened me and stuff. But after I got some strength back and was transferring and started driving and stuff again, for like 6 months after I had like gaining that strength back, I was getting a really weird leg spasm in my right leg, in my hip. And it was while I was driving, this happened 3 times. It would make my leg kick out, up, and turn the car off. And it happened once on the freeway. So it just literally shut the van off, like
Jeez.
65 miles,
Oh
70 miles an hour.
man.
And that I lose power steering, I lose everything. Like I'm fucked. So, and one time was in the middle of a left turn. The first time it happened, I'm trying to make a left in downtown LA through an intersection at like traffic time, and my car just shuts off. So luckily that stopped happening. That scared the crap out of me. I was trying to think of like putting a blocker on it, doing something I could figure out to like shield it. But that's been a few years now, and I don't get that spasm. I don't know what that was causing it. I don't know. It was the same spasm. It just caused my hip to come up and out and just right on
Wow.
that key every time. Bop, kick the key and just turned it
That's
up.
crazy. That's crazy,
I,
man.
I only, if I have spasms, that's why I like driving from the van chair because, if I have this kickback, the captain's chair is really nice to just, I don't go anywhere. Sometimes I'll create a spasm when my blood pressure is low by doing this, and then I
Me
start
too.
getting bonus. That helps a little, not much, but a little. And then when I'm on the freeway for, I don't know, 10 miles more or plus, and then I get off a freeway, I always pray for a red light when I have to turn left because that's when the spasm is really going to kick in. So imagine, all of a sudden you get off the freeway, you get the green, and I'm going like this. And next thing you know, you're having a spasm and you're trying to turn left. And my spasms go to the right. So that's the only time I get a little bit scary. So I slow down to almost like no speed. Like people are sometimes behind me are like, what a, you know, ow,
Yeah, yeah.
but I don't care. It's safety.
No, yeah, that's you got to be safe. So
The
just make
more you honk, the slower I drive.
sure.
Uh,
That's it.
That's true. All
I
right,
get
guys.
spasms That was one of the other considerations that was like pretty significant into like me deciding that driving wasn't my thing. Is I get spasms that like throughout my whole body. Sometimes like they like are so strong in my abdomen that like my legs kick out. They'll like spasm for like 60 seconds, and all that time like I'm fighting like my abdominal spasms too, and they totally like affect my whole upper body. It's these are all like conversations that you have during like driving driver's training and like all the tests and like stuff that they put you through in order to like even be able to get a car. um, but just something to be considerate of and be mindful of, all these things. I think driving is super awesome though, and if you're able to do it, more power to you. But mindfulness, when it comes to safety, and not just your safety, but the safety of others, I think is really important.
I just want to do this little tidbit real quick about getting hand controls for your vehicle and for anyone who may be newly injured out there that's watching this. You do need to go through driver's training now. I did when I first started driving, but I didn't go take the test. And they put my hand controls in, and I started driving without having anything on the back of my license that said I needed hand controls for 15 years until one day I was renewing my license and had to go in and everything. And I was almost out the door, and they're like, "Excuse me,
Yeah,
what
and
do
they
you
do
think?
that on
How do you
purpose.
drive? You drive with your feet?" And I'm like, shoot, no. Um, so then I had to go do the test, which was, but nowadays that if you go to a van conversion place and you're just driving your car, you do need to have driver's training and something on your license before they are going to install hand controls of any sort. So that just FYI that, and the only reason why I know is because a lot of people get grants through the nonprofit I help out with, and I have to get their license, take a picture of the back to make sure that they're driving, because they'll tell me yes, 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 and then I'm like, let me have it, let me have it. And finally, they're like, well, it doesn't actually say, but I did it. I know how to drive. And I'm like, I know you do. But for insurances, if you get in an accident and it's not on the back, you're going to be reliable, even if it's the other person's fault, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll have to look into that too because I did go through a driver training course. I have a little certificate that says so, but I never have been to the dealership.
Be
But I went
careful.
in and had to do my eye exam and everything. Dude looked at me. He's like, "You drive with hand controls?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, stamped a thing. I rolled out of there with a new license renewed. So,
I
nah.
know. I almost did. I was out. A manager came by. That was that's where I got busted. But I had gotten a few tickets beforehand, and a couple times. One time, cop was great about it. He's like, "So this is your van? You drive for a hand? This is awesome. Go.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Yeah.
Slow down." And then another time, this guy really loved my van. He wanted to see everything work. And then I'm like, God, I'm getting out another one. And then comes back. He's like, "Yeah, here's your ticket." I'm like, "Oh, you dick," you know. So it has worked where I didn't need that. But nowadays, I would just be more on that cautious side, Shawn, because insurances will look at, are you driving safely when you passed out from your low blood pressure? He was talking, so he
Sorry,
didn't.
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know. I've never passed out. I've never had to black out. I've never any of those things. So hopefully it doesn't scare you. Sorry, I just was a little distracted for a second. But yeah, we got to start wrapping the show up anyway. So get going. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us about that stuff. Hopefully the DMV wasn't watching my thing and going to contact me right now. But
If they are, this
Really
is all a legend
deny
anyway.
it. Deny it. This tape will self-destruct.
all right.
Shout out mobility professionals and urology professionals. Mobility professionals can help you out with your durable medical equipment, wheelchairs, standing frames, and other similar equipment. If you're fortunate enough to be here in beautiful, sunny Southern California, their sister company, Urology Professionals, is national, however. So anywhere in the US of A, if you are in need of urological supplies, catheters, and any of the accoutrement that goes along with the catheters, they got your back. And like I said, urology professionals is national. So if you are anywhere in the US of A and you need supplies to help you go pee, they got you, and you won't regret checking them out. I am not going to be gaming tomorrow. I got to figure out the day. Wednesday, the afternoon, evening just isn't working for me. And I got to figure out a day with Shawn that's going to work. But we're going to talk about that and keep you guys posted.
We'll
But
get
we're
that.
back next Tuesday at 3:30.
And also this Thursday, we are gonna hop on. I'm gonna see who else wants to hop on with me from the hosts, and we're gonna do just a little Halloween impromptu hangout. No real topic. Just come hang out with us for Halloween for an hour and say hi. Whatever you got questions, let us know. But we will do that on Thursday. If anybody wants to join, I'm gonna schedule that in a second. But thank you guys.
Bobby, we can't hear you.
Bobby's
You're
muted. I
muted.
don't know if he's talking to us or someone else, but
Hit that like button. That's what I want to say
Yeah,
before we
no,
leave
yeah,
everybody.
that's
Hit
it.
that like
All that was hit the like button. Yeah.
Come on, hit that like button. Hit that smash that.
Yep,
thank,
yep,
thank you guys
yep.
Sorry,
again
I
for
got
watching. We
sideways.
All
appreciate
right.
you guys.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having
And
me.
live to roll, everyone. We will see you next week.